Start recording. Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. My name is Lauren from Thrive. Today we have Neville and we have John from Zudello to take us through their product. So I'll hand over to them now.
Thank you, Lauren. Hello everybody, thank you very much for joining us today. So we're going to be taking you through Zudello's solution for financial automation. Okay, so a bit of an introduction to who we are. So we're an Australian company headquartered in Queensland, and we were founded with the goal of automating the office of the CFO, which is a fancy way of saying your finance department. We have we've expanded across a lot of industries out there, including healthcare, construction, retail, wholesale, not-for-profit. But I suppose at the core of our philosophy was to develop financial processing software that really fitted into our clients' businesses rather than the other way around. So the product is highly flexible, highly dynamic, and is designed to complement your business and not restrict your business. So we support hundreds of CFOs in businesses across the UK, the EU, Australia, New Zealand obviously is our core, Canada and USA. And if you look at our core components, we've got them on the right there: AP and AR automation, statement reconciliation, advanced workflows, budgets, contracts and policies, expense management, and compliance and sustainability. So I'll take you through those in a little bit more detail now. So our core capabilities, I suppose, we can divide them into four main areas. So the elimination of manual work, the enforcement of compliance, improvements in security, and improving your relationships with key stakeholders. So in terms of elimination of manual work, what we're looking to do is automate all the processes that potentially you might be doing manually today in procurement. So from purchase requisition right through to ultimately paying of an invoice. So eliminating manual data entry and allowing your AP and AR teams to focus on value adding rather than data entry. Around compliance, we focus on approval workflows, 2- and 3-way matching of invoices, enforcement of policies and contracts and budgets, validating prices, and auditing everything that's going on within your financial environment. That leads us into security, so we can detect internal and external fraud. We do that through things like behavior analysis, having granular permissions, so we're not allowing people who shouldn't have permission to do things they shouldn't be doing. So very, very tight control around that, along with two-factor authentication. And from an IT perspective, we're ISO 27001 compliant. And in terms of how we improve relationships, so we're increasing employee satisfaction. That's an easy thing to do when you remove the need to manually enter hundreds or thousands of invoices a month. So your AP staff are very happy when they no longer have to do that. But also what we're able to do is improve those relationships with your suppliers, because we're able to enable much quicker and efficient payment of invoices. So that keeps the suppliers happy as well. Now, in terms of how we achieve these, we have our accounts payable capability, so eliminating the data entry of invoices, receipts and purchase orders. And you can capture that invoice information via a number of means: emails, uploading documents via the web, taking a photo. Our cognitive recognition technology will capture all the information from that invoice and assign all that data to the correct fields in your ERP system. And we do that through our AI and machine learning, which I'll go into a little bit more detail further on in the presentation. The idea being that we want to give you ultimate level of accuracy so that you don't have to go in and manually correct things. We support multi-currencies. We can detect things like duplicate invoices, verify suppliers, and ensure that your system is running in a fully compliant way. Similarly, we can do the same for accounts receivable. So these are orders coming in from your clients that you want to turn into a sales order. So those orders typically come in as a PDF. So we'll turn the PDF purchase order into a sales order. We connect directly into your ERP system. So that all that information that's on that purchase order is fed through to your ERP. It's obviously all extracted using our AI and machine learning capability. And we can compare pricing from what the customer says it should be to what your core ERP system says it should be, and ensure that the client is paying the right price. We're detecting things like duplicates, and we're verifying all that customer information so that you're not being affected by fraudulent orders. Any new customers can be automatically onboarded, yeah, it really refines that process so you can accept purchase orders 7x24. So when we bring in information, whether it be invoices or purchase orders, there may be approvals that you want to go through, particularly if invoices are over certain values and so forth. So we have very advanced approval workflows. So one of the key things here is that it's a very dynamic and incredibly flexible process. So we're able to manage very complex approval hierarchies, delegations of authority, to ensure that if someone's unavailable or doesn't approve within a certain time frame, the approval will be delegated to an alternative person in the hierarchy. That is really critical for ensuring that the approvals get managed in the shortest possible time frames, so that you're able to meet those payment terms. Maybe you've negotiated special payment terms that give you discounts if you can achieve shorter payment terms than standard, and you want to be able to get those discounts. So having the ability to approve invoices in the shortest possible time is really key. We can streamline forms such as CapEx, and ensure that approval requests reach those users in a manner that they're used to. So it might be email, it might be Slack, it might be Microsoft Teams, it could be on a mobile app. So we're very flexible in the way that your management is able to approve those invoices. And if they don't approve, we send them reminders and we escalate to your manager's manager if they don't do it in the required timeframes. One of the key differentiators for Zudello is our data extraction capability. So we have a very special technology that we invented called cognitive recognition. And this, in essence, it's an AI-backed system, but it goes way beyond what your traditional OCR-backed systems are able to do. So if you have a system that uses OCR, you'd be lucky to see anything better than 80% accuracy in the data that's being extracted from the invoices. And the reality in the field, where you've potentially got documents that might be, you know, crumpled or stained or whatever, which we'll show you in the demo, we're able to extract all that data, whereas OCR systems will really struggle. So the end result of the ability through cognitive recognition to extract all of that data is that there's less need for you to go in and manually manipulate those invoices to get them through to your ERP system. So this is how we really save enormous amounts of time and human effort compared to other systems in the market. And there we go. What we'd now like to do is give you a demonstration to show you how all those things we've just discussed actually look in real life, and give you the opportunity to see it all happening. So I'm going to hand you over to my colleague Neville, and he'll take over from here.
Perfect. Okay, thank you, John. So this is Zudello itself. Along the top here, we've got each of those modules that John mentioned. So you've got your expenses and travel, which allows you to do employee reimbursements or credit card reconciliation. You've got sales, which is your AR automation. This module is all about getting those customer purchase orders, extracting them, and creating sales orders within your ERP. The one we're focusing on today is purchasing, and that can be anything from raising a requisition or purchase order all the way through to accounts payable, where we're extracting that data and enriching it and matching it back against those orders all automatically. We've also got inventory and relationships, where you're able to manage your onboarding process. So whether that's bringing new items into the business and sending those through an onboarding process to ensure you have all the right details, or the same with suppliers and customers, making sure that you're collecting those bank account details you need and other key information, validating that detail with the supplier, as well as your internal database for onboarding those contacts. Diving into purchasing, we get the main screen here, and what you see along the top is each of the different stages of the procurement cycle. Now, each of these, if we refer to as sub-module, you can customize and determine which ones you'd like to use within your business and which ones you won't. So working through them, you've got quotes, which is where you can upload a supplier quote and have that converted into a purchase order or requisition. Your requisition is an internal request to purchase. What you can do here is give anyone within your organization access to Zudello, where they can raise a new requisition before getting it approved and creating a purchase order. We then get to the purchase order stage, which gets sent to your supplier, and that can either be generated within Zudello or it can be generated in your ERP. So Zudello supports bi-directional sync on all of your transaction types. So whether you're using your ERP system or Zudello, it's fully supported. The main ones for today are invoices and also credits, and this is really where you're going to be dealing directly with your suppliers. When we get documents into Zudello, Zudello is able to monitor your accounts inbox, or you can drag and drop to upload directly into the system, and it'll appear in this list here. Now, once a document is uploaded, the system will extract it, and we support image files, PDFs, Word documents, and Excel documents. So whatever form you're getting it in, we can then extract that. The system will then classify it into either user review or ready. Now, the difference between these two is user review is effectively your exception queue. And the idea is that over time, less and less documents will land in this queue, so the workload on your AP team significantly decreases. The ready status is if it's passed all of your business rules, it's extracted well, and is really ready to go either through approvals or into your ERP. And the last status, which you can see, is the approval status, which we'll come back to shortly. Now, once a document has been uploaded into the system, you can open it up and see the document on the right-hand side and all the information that we've extracted on the left. Now, the key things here are that we're doing things such as matching automatically to your suppliers and validating the ABN numbers. We're pulling in the line items. That includes things like description, but also quantity and price. But more importantly, we're then putting it through a process that we call enrichment. And that's where no matter what dimensions you have set up in your financial system, whether it be departments or cost centers, classes, or something else entirely, you're able to teach Zudello how your documents should be coded based on either rules you set up or the way that you've coded documents previously, and Zudello will adapt and automate that process for you. Now, this is what an expense would look like. So we don't have stock codes on this one, but we'll come to that in a moment. But the way that extraction does work is we use a process called cognitive vision. What cognitive vision looks like is effectively this document here, where you can see this computer's looking at it with computer vision and identifying what's on the page and what the relationships are to each other. Now, this process is how we achieve such a high level of accuracy with the extraction. But more importantly, unlike other solutions, you're not having to copy and paste from the page or manually map every supplier as it comes through. You're able to upload these documents in, have Zudello automatically map and suggest how documents should be extracted, and put that information into fields on the left-hand side. Now, in addition to that, you do have the ability to take that next step and have a bit more control over your extraction. And that could be for things such as custom fields. When we work in health, for example, you may have the patient name on the document. So what you can do is click on the AI assistant, where you'll see all the fields in green that the system's mapped automatically, and any fields in blue that you can choose to map. And typically, like mentioned, this is for things such as industry-specific information. To teach Zudello to do something new, all you have to do is click on it and tell it any standard or custom field you would like this value to go into. Hitting save and reprocess then teaches it moving forwards, and the training is updated. As part of an invoice, you also have the ability to collaborate within your team or outside externally. And that can either be done through assignees, where you can assign invoices to different members of your team, or the chat function on the right-hand side. And this is where you can discuss any issues with the invoice, or any questions you may have. You also have the ability to engage with the supplier through our email feature, which allows you to reach out, and these emails are tracked within your Zudello inbox or within your existing Gmail or Outlook inbox. Another key part of these panels on the right-hand side is that we keep full traceability back to audit. So every action that happens within your business is tracked, and it timestamps every user, every time it's opened, every change, so you can see everything that's happened with the life cycle of this document since it's been uploaded. Right. Opening up another document, a silver platter one here, we can see that we're also validating these documents in the background. So here we've detected that we don't actually know who this company is because we don't have them on our supplier file. What we can do is we can either push this to a process to automatically create that supplier, or we can match it with an existing supplier that we do know. We can see here we've instantly triggered a bank account validation. So we're doing these checks in real time as the documents are processed, and we can see that the bank account number that's on the invoice doesn't match the one that we have on file. Now, the bank account numbers we have on file can come out of your ERP system or from within Zudello. And if you did have to update this bank account detail before you process this invoice, you can either go into your ERP and make the change, or you can use Zudello's supplier update functionality, which allows you to make the change to the supplier and then put that change to an approval process before continuing. Okay, moving on to approval. If we take this Linen Fresh email document here, once we're happy with the document, what we can do is hit the Save and Submit button at the top here, and the system will begin to evaluate your approval process. Now, as John mentioned, we have a lot of flexibility in our approvals, and that's achieved with what we call natural language actions. So opening up our natural language actions, we can see that they are automations described in plain English like you see here, and clicking into them, we can see that it's very simple to set up an approval and describe how we would like the system to operate it. This one, for example, is very simple, where we're going to Neville first for approval before continuing on the process, or we can do something slightly more complicated where, simplify this slightly, where we're going and checking a delegation of authority that's been set up and working through that delegation each step until the approval limit's reached. Now, the key with Zudello's delegations of authority is that you can set them up against any dimension or combination of dimensions that you may require. So this one, for example, is set up against subsidiary and department. So the system will assess your document and see which of the delegations that this matches. So if you've coded against the operations department, the Australian subsidiary, then it's going to work through Neville and then John until the approval limit is reached. However, if it's coded against commercial, it'll be Blake and then John. If it is coded against operations and commercial, it will run both approvals in parallel. Jumping back in here, we can see that our document, Linen Fresh, has now moved into the approval process, and it's been assigned to Neville to approve. Now, Neville has the option of either approving within app or going into Slack, Microsoft Teams, or the mobile app or email and approving there. The key thing with those communication methods is that we do send a summary of the document, how it's been coded, what its value is, as well as the attachment, and an approve or reject button into each of those mediums. So you can approve in one click from Microsoft Teams or email, or you can encourage people to jump back into Zudello and approve from within the system itself. The next step is really your purchase order step. So if we were to raise a purchase order in the system, that would be done in this purchase order section here. So this is effectively a request to purchase. So if we create a new purchase order, clicking that Add Purchase Order button, we can then hit Create. The form here will load, and what we can see at the top here for our purchase order is, firstly, we have different types of purchase order depending on what we're buying. So we can select our purchase order type, fill in any of the details we want to continue, who we want to order it from. So if we're going to order from trusted Spark, and you'll see that the system begins to fill in the details. A key thing with Zudello, like John mentioned, is that it is all very configurable. So in our form builder, like sentences, you can customize what fields are required. So you can reduce a PO down to just the bare minimum. Maybe you need description, supplier, and total, or a PO can be far more detailed and you can collect all the information off the users raising that PO. What we're going to do is add 2 lines to our purchase order. The first one, this one here, and we're going to order this line as well. And you can see as we add our items, the system automatically populates it for us. We can also edit any of these lines at any time, so we can decide which of these departments we're going to work with, and then what quantity we're going to order. So we're going to order 1 of these and 2 of these. Submitting this document, we'll then submit that through the approval process like we saw previously for us to review before sending it to our supplier. Now, as that is approved, what we are going to be able to do is, as the invoices for that purchase order are uploaded into the system, they will be extracted and automatically matched against. So if we open up this invoice here, we can see that this invoice has now been matched against our purchase order, and we can match against purchase orders in a number of ways. We can either match at the header level, like this is here, or more importantly, we can also match at the line item level. So with the line items, we can see that it's fully matched to our purchase order, both in quantity on both lines, and we can also support 3-way matching, where you'll get a receipt column here as well. What the system will do when matching is it will also validate your price back against your purchase order. So if there is a discrepancy in pricing, either from what you've ordered historically, what's on that purchase order, or what is in your inventory, that will pick that up here as well. Scrolling across, we can see that it's automatically coded to the dimensions that we require, and it's also pulled in our unit prices and totals. Now this one here has come into the system and flagged for approval because there is a discrepancy in price, as we can see, and quite a significant discrepancy. So what you can do is you can set up different rules based on the variance. So you could say if it's within 5%, we're going to let that through. 5 to 10%, we're going to capture that and send it for approval. And maybe over 10%, we're going to automatically reject that back to our supplier. And the way that we handle that is once again with sentences. So back into custom automations and natural language, we can describe a very simple rule of how we would like it to operate. So when our document is submitted, we can say, and the variance amount is greater than $5, we would like to go for approval from John. We can see, as easy as that, we've now set up an approval flow based on the variance, and so that none of these get through before going into our ERP. Great. So that is a high-level overview of purchasing. Does anyone have any questions?
Awesome. If anyone has any questions, chuck them in the chat or shout out. I've actually got one here for you guys. Our invoice payments get delayed because approvals take too long. How would Zudello fix this problem?
Yep, so that can be managed in a few ways. We have built-in capability to trigger reminders, but also escalations. So if someone continues to ignore their approvals, you can escalate up the management tree until someone approves that document. Typically, they're approved before they reach the CEO, otherwise somebody's in trouble.
Definitely. Another one's come through. We manually process our invoices, which requires a number of finance staff to input the data into our system every day. Can Zudello reduce this work, and by how much?
Yes, well, absolutely. That's what it's all about. So if you've got accounts payable staff inputting invoice data into your ERP system, essentially this whole process here automates that. So the time that's currently spent on manual data entry is completely recovered to be used for other more important tasks, or you know, dare I say it, that those staff can be reallocated to other areas of the business. So we're talking here about you know, document extraction data rates in the high 90s. So there's very, very little manual processing that would have to occur. So if you're thinking you've got 1,000 invoices coming in a month, and we're processing, you know, 98% of them automatically, that's leaving you only 20 odd documents that might need some manual attention because something doesn't match correctly. So, you know, it's very much someone's job on a part-time basis. We don't need full-time staff to do this work anymore.
That's amazing, John. I've just
Isn't
had
it?
one. Zudello links to Oracle NetSuite. Can it connect to Oracle EBS?
It's a good question. We don't have Oracle EBS at this current time. However, we do have a team dedicated to integrations, so we are happy to look at integrations like that.
Yeah, just on that point, we integrate with a vast array of ERP systems. And, you know, in each time we've set up an integration, it's because a client has requested. So we look at every request and weigh it up in terms of the complexity and so forth. One of the other things that we didn't mention, but is worth talking about, is the level of those integrations, because sometimes a vendor might say, oh, we integrate with an ERP system, but that integration is you upload a CSV file or something like that. So it's a very, very basic level of integration. Whereas what we're doing is we're integrating via APIs so that a significant amount of data gets transferred both to and from the ERP, and it doesn't require sort of a manual upload of a flat file. It happens automatically. So it's a very tight and high level of integration that we do.
Thanks, John. Does anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, John, just for the construction customers that are here. They often get site supervisors to raise purchase orders in the field. Some of our potential customers don't want the supervisors to be able to see the prices of it. Can you just confirm that from a role perspective can be done?
Definitely. So that can be done. So Zudello has very fine-tuned controls. We have over 1,600 permissions across the system. Now, these are typically configured into user groups to make it easier to manage. But you can control everything in terms of, does the user have access to the pricing or not?
Excellent. Another question in regards to site, guys. Obviously working on projects, and the supervisors are receipting delivery dockets against purchase orders that have been raised. How's that done in Zudello?
Yep. So
from the mobile sort of field.
Great. Okay. So Zudello does have a mobile app where you can see all of the purchase orders. Typically, you would restrict someone in the field down to just those projects that they need and they have access to. So they'll get a list of their purchase orders. And then from the purchase order, in 2 clicks, they're able to create a receipt and then make any adjustments before submitting it. With good receipting, the other side of it is we can also use extraction technology on a high-res photo. So if they do take a good quality photo of that delivery note, they're able to upload that to have it extracted as well.
So that means no manual for inputting it if it's a good photo?
If it's a good photo, that's correct.
Excellent. I was going to raise, I'm very generous, and I'm going to take someone out for lunch, and I've got a credit card receipt that I need to send through to, you know, be charged potentially to a project or to get reimbursed. Do you have that capability?
We do. So that's in our expenses and travel module. In here, you can upload any of those expenses. So you can once again use the mobile app for that, email it in, or drag and drop. The system will then extract those expenses. So we jump in here and have a look at the expenses we have moving through. The system will extract those, collect that you took someone out for lunch, collect a reason off you, but more importantly, you can determine which dimensions are required. So if you're a project manager or a site manager, for example, one of these dimensions may be project, and you can specify what project it's for. Zudello also does allow you to split it out by line item. So if it is for multiple projects, maybe you're taking a group of customers out, you can manage that before you submit your expense and put that through an expense claim process.
Just on the point with the expense claiming, the amount of data that we can extract from, you know, a receipt like this is really incredible. So what that means is that the users don't have to go and manually enter all that data in. On the whole, we'll be able to capture all of it automatically. So it really reduces the time that your staff will have to spend in making expense claims, because there's nothing worse than loading up a receipt to find that none of the data from the receipt has actually made it into the right field, and you've got to type it all in manually. And what should be a 1 or 2 second activity turns into 5 or 10 minutes as you're filling in all these details.
Amazing. If
That was it.
there's
Questions from me.
thanks.
Oh, statement reconciliation. Do you or do statement reconciliation? Maybe one against credit cards potentially, and 2 against supplier statements.
Yep, so we have both types of reconciliation, both credit card and supplier. If we take a look at suppliers, that's found under purchasing and statements. And opening up one of these supplier statements, what you get is something like this, where the lines on your statement that you've uploaded, and once again, you upload your supplier statements, we'll extract the line items. You get those on the left-hand side, and you get the transactions that are either in your ERP or Zudello on the right. And we'll also validate if there's any discrepancies between them. So even though the invoice numbers may match, the system has detected that there is a discrepancy in price. If we take a look at the other supplier statement, we can see that this is a nice clean match. However, there's one line that hasn't been matched, which is this credit here. So what the system will prompt us to do is this button here is request copies. Clicking on that will compose an email to our supplier asking them for copies of that document before continuing on. When they email that in, we'll extract it and automatically reallocate it against a statement.
Awesome. Thanks so much, John and Neville, for joining us today. If anyone has any further questions, I'll send out an email after this with the video. Just reach out to myself or Sarah and we'll see what we can do. Thanks everyone for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.